Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Yes, it is Sunday night. Tonight, we're going to be talking about this week's DJI big update for the Goggles 2, Goggles Integra, Goggles 3 and Goggles N3. And yes, I have put a video out on this today, but I just want to explain a few things around it. We're going to talk about the news from Runcam. Two things, actually, from Runcam. We have a bit more information shared to us from Mario on the OpenIPC side of things. So we're going to talk about that. And we're going to talk about a few other things that come up along the way, as well as our usual chat on a Sunday night. And we're going to sort of just wonder, where is Caddx? There's a lot going on in the FPV world right now. You've got DJI, you've got HD0 delivering new products, you've got all this OpenIPC stuff, and whilst we did have a little bit of a leak on something from Caddx, everything is rather quiet. And we're going to have to wait and see if anything at all comes, because, yeah, at the moment, it's very, very quiet. My cup of tea has just arrived. One moment. Oh, that is hot. Caddx's year was 2024. Yeah, potentially. Very much so. Now, you're going to see the microphone in view tonight because I have a slightly wider camera angle than usual. If I just come out, you can see a bit more of the workshop today because I've been filming some content on a product that I'm going to review isn't the right term, but Bluetti have sent me another power station to have a look at. This thing is enormous, hence the reason I've had to move the camera back a bit. It's actually not any larger than the AC180 that I had a look at last year, but it's nearly double the capacity, which is crazy. Portable power stations have moved on and then some, and you're getting almost double the capacity in the same footprint, although it seems to weigh a bit more. That's the truth of it. But yeah, I've been looking at one of their new ones, and look, I'll be honest, Bluetti, I've been really impressed with their power stations. The one I'm looking at right now is this, which is the Elite 200 version 2. So this is a 2073.6 watt hour. It's not solid state, it's still lithium ion or Life PO4 cells, the usual stuff. But this thing is an absolute beast of a power station. I would lift it up to show you because it's down there, but I will hurt myself if I do on stream. So, yeah, that thing is a monster of a portable power station. You know, 2 kilowatts of battery storage, 2,600 watts of output, and it'll actually use their power lifting feature up to 3,900 on resistive loads, which is quite cool indeed. They also have a really cool charger for it as well, which I was just looking at, which they've also sent me, which is their Charger 1, which allows you to directly charge them from a battery, which is really cool as well. But yeah, so I've been doing a little bit. I'm going to be doing a bit, and I'm going to be doing a lot of camping this year. But yeah, I've just been trying to get the early stuff done. But because it's so big, I had to bring the camera back. Someone says, have I changed a filter? No, nothing's changed. All I've done is push the camera back a bit. I usually don't leave it that far back because it takes up more space down there. The workshop is an absolute crap tip at the moment. I just haven't got time to get near tidying it. But as you can see, now I've moved back, the mic is right there. So you're now seeing the shotgun in full view. No, I haven't seen Painless's video on solid state batteries. Can it charge from DC on its own? You can charge it from AC or DC directly. It'll take up to 20 amps of input or 1,000 watts of input on DC, either via solar or via battery if you wanted to. So, yeah, that it's a good bit of kit. You can see the boogers now. Yes, yeah, the quads are up there. Although you can see there's a lot of them down. And the reason there's a lot of them down, because there's one here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. There's a pile there. I don't know how easy you guys can see that. There is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 quads there piled on top of each other. And they are out for a reason, because I've been having to fly with them. So yeah, that's a good one to sort of been doing the last few days. It's been nice to get a bit of flight out, and you can then see the microscope over the side there, and then the goggles and the power supply. And look, I'm in a bit of a mess, but we will get tidy. We will get tidy again soon. But yeah, so I thought I'd show you the wider shot, but we're back in for the close-up now. Okay, so I guess the first bit of news we should talk about is DJI, because this week, where is it? They released the firmware for O4 and the goggles 2, the goggles Integra, the goggles 3 and N3. I have all explained this in this video, but for those who haven't seen, they have now officially added Inav support in OSD. We knew this was coming ages ago, and look, there's a lot of people who've sort of been kicking DJI around to get this done, and there's a lot of people who should be thanked for it. It isn't one thing, it's a number of things. As far as we can tell, so far, there's no improvement for the ham file. The ham file issue is still there. I haven't had any time on this new firmware airside myself. I've been testing other digital FPV systems for reasons I can't go into. But hopefully there are other fixes in, but it isn't clear. And we're just going to have to wait and see. The good thing is DJI have officially added support for Inav, which is long overdue. The downside is they never went as far as adding in custom OSD fonts, so you now only have Inav and Betaflight. So the likes of Kiss Ultra doesn't get any love. The likes of anything else doesn't get any sort of appreciation either, unfortunately. But it is good that Inav has had its support. It is full Inav OSD. It is not limited Inav OSD, or at least it's full Inav OSD until DJI or Inav change things. Most likely Inav. What was really good about this was the fact that DJI brought support for the older goggles, and that was a little bit unexpected. A little bit unexpected. There was hope that they might do it, but it wasn't particularly expected. Do you need RC1? No, it'll work with all of the earlier versions of Inav. I'm not going to say it'll go all the way back, but it will work with the more recent versions of Inav. You only need 8.01 for the menu option for DJI native. You just set it to avatar if you're using the earlier avatar, Inav firmware. Just set it to avatar. It's the same. There's no difference. So basically, it's the Inav OSD for avatar, but just squeezed into DJI. So it's pretty straightforward. Just choose the one option or the other option. So if you've got the new Inav 8.01 configurator, 8.01 beta, you can run it with DJI Native. If not, run it with Avatar and it'll absolutely be fine. It's great though if you're a Goggles 2 Integra owner or 03 owner that you get the Inav OSD as well, because we did have a gap and someone did ask on the video, did DJI add support for the V1 and V2? No, but it doesn't matter. V1 and V2 can use FPV WTF. You've got full everything. You don't need to worry. We did, though, have this sort of a loss of functionality when you started using the ear unit in Vista and Runcam Link with the Goggles 2 and Integra, because you lost FPV WTF and you were then back onto the MSP OSD, which wasn't fully featured. Now you've gained back that functionality, and whilst you haven't got everything FPV WTF gives you, you have a full Inav OSD. And as someone says here, Josh just says, so no longer use Betaflight Compat. 100%. You don't need Betaflight Compat anymore. You can use Inav. So it gives a new lease of life for people with Vistas, especially Vistas and Runcam Links on planes. I think there's a lot of people running Vistas and Runcam Links on fixed wing. So that's a real good thing. This doesn't obviously bring support for the Vista Runcam Link and ear unit on the Goggles 3. Goggles 3 still only support 03 and 04. But again, it gives full Inav support on all of those models. So we should congratulate DJI for listening. On the other hand, later next week, I'm going to be kicking their ass for not fixing the issues that with the ham file once I have finished testing it. I haven't finished testing it yet. I haven't even started testing it yet, if I'm honest. As I've said, I've been playing with other digital FPV systems, and as a result of that, DJI had to wait. Now, I do really at this point want to put out a bit of a warning on this, and this is around the issues with the ham file. It is very possible DJI will never fix the ham file issues. And it puts us in a bit of a strange position because the ham file is obviously unsupported functionality. And it is a bit difficult to complain at DJI about something not working properly on unsupported functionality. I'm going to do it. Don't get me wrong. I'm going to make a video calling them out on it. Look, this is me we're talking about. It's going to happen. However, if we're being honest, complaining about a hack not working properly, and I use the term hack very loosely, it's not a hack. It's unofficial functionality that DJI have left in there. It's a bit hard to batter them across the head with a stick over it when it's not even meant to be there. But that doesn't mean I won't give it a good go. Complaining they could pull it, I'm not convinced. I've never been worried about DJI pulling the hacks. Yes, they could. Truth is, there is a risk. There is always a risk. Complain, and they could pull it. But they could have pulled it on the last update because I've already complained about this once. So, I don't think they'll pull it. But they could do with fixing the functionality. I didn't know there was a ham issue. Yeah, so when using the Goggles 2 with ham file, it limits you to 16 megabits a second and it does quirky stuff. That also stands for the Integra as well. So we're just going to have to wait and see. But overall, things do look like they are improving. I was sent something quite interesting earlier. Let me just find it. I was sent over someone on JB's Discord, for those who are on there. There are some great people on JB's Discord. Hopefully you won't mind me sharing this image. He sent me a picture of his new ear unit from DJI, his 04. They replaced it after one of his UFLs came off. And this is the replacement. And it does look like there is a lot more solder on this than there was on the earlier ones and my early ones. This would somewhat imply, and it's only one, we need to see more over time, but it would somewhat imply that DJI have taken the issue seriously, and that's perfect. That's much better. But this is a sample size of one, so we're going to have to wait and see. But there is a lot more around that. Much better. Much better. You can't even see the tops of the pads now. Coax issue is worse than the UFL. The ham file works. It's just it may limit you in auto mode to 16 megabits a second. You might need to put it in manual mode. So that's really good to see. Now I want to take my 04Ss apart. Hopefully they've learned from that at least. But no. So DJI, Inav. What are the Inav devs going to complain about now? The Inav devs have spent years complaining and hating on DJI. Half of the Inav devs are Caddx testers. But they've spent years complaining about DJI. They're going to have to suck it up now. Sorry, guys. You got nothing to whinge about. It's like they showed you some love. So, yeah. Some of the comments that were put to me were quite interesting around this, and I'm not expecting any bigger changes. I wouldn't expect DJI to later like things like the OSD, the upload. But yeah, they have nothing to win. For years they've whinged about DJI. So yeah, who knows? Who knows? But anyways, good news is it's done. Inav support's there. And yeah, it's good to see. It would have been nice if DJI had given us the font upload. I am going to whinge about that. I don't expect them to ever do it, and I still stand by the fact, and I will say it again, that I think MSP DisplayPort is an absolute shambles, and the whole thing needs to improve and change, and I still firmly believe that it would be far better spun off into its own project where all of these things could be handled in one place. But at least now the Inav dev team aren't going to be whinging about it. But I still think it needs to be done just like Mavlink, just like UAV can. It needs to be moved off into its own project where the other projects will communicate with them. And then, yeah, hopefully it's there. Now, I have heard, and I don't know how true this is, and I haven't even looked on the Discord or the Ardra Pilot website, but I have heard Ardru are either looking at doing or they're being poked to do as introduce an Inav OSD mode in Ardra Pilot, which means they can take advantage of the new Inav OSD font in the DJI Goggles 2, Integra 3, N3. It isn't here yet, and I need to go and have a look on the Ardra Pilot Discord or the Discourse forum to see where this is being discussed. But someone mentioned that it's looking like they're going to try and introduce like an Inav compatible mode. And that will really help Ardra Pilot. Not everything, because Ardra Pilot has so many options, it's crazy. There'll be at least 5,000 params just to enable the OSD, but it would at least give a lot more options for fixed wing users. Quad users are mostly covered, but fixed wing users. I always the opinion, ArduPilot with the mindset of either you make it work or we aren't interested. No, I'd sort of say that was the Inav dev team's approach, not ArduPilot. My experience with ArduPilot and Tridge and the team there is they are always open to people developing things. I think they're not necessarily going to do something for you, but I remember working with Alex Yapu when we introduced the original DJI MSP-OSD support. I don't know how many people know this, but when DJI released the goggles V1s and the original FPV system, there was no OSD or MSP-OSD in ArduPilot. I sort of spoke to them and I sent my FPV goggles and a unit to Alex in Italy. I paid for the shipping. I sent them over to him. He then wrote the MSP display port functionality based on the information that was around and posted my goggles back to me. And I did a load of testing between the two after that. And we also introduced HD0 OSD support at the same time. I provided the goggles and the ear unit for them to test. I loaned them my ones to be able to do it because it needed a set of hardware. And I think then they later went on and purchased a set. All of this is on the Discourse forum. It's all listed. But yeah, they're generally willing to bring it in as long as someone's willing to do it. What you won't always find is the ArduPilot dev team say, oh, that's a good idea, I'll go away and do it. And this is where a lot of people have got involved in ArduPilot because they decide, oh, I've got this idea, I'd like to implement it. And they're quite welcoming and they'll let them do it and then see how they can introduce it into the wider world. The truth is, all of the projects are politically difficult at times. That's any open source project is politically difficult. You have a bunch of people running it and a bunch of people using it, and the bunch of people running it have their interpretation of how they think it should be A, run, and B, done. And you have the people who are using it have their interpretation of it. And those two often don't meet in the middle. And, you know, the truth is things don't always line up. But if you're willing to put the work in, most of these projects will get on board. I have personally, in recent times, found elements of the Inav developer team more difficult and nasty than the others. I had a very big public falling out with the Betaflight devs. That was some on me, that was some on them. Today, Sugar K and Sugar K is the one I've dealt with the most. He's phenomenal. He's amazing. Me and him had a very big argument, and you know what? He's a very good guy. A very, very good guy once you sort of get to know him and everything. And I have absolutely no issues with the Betaflight team at all. I don't really deal with them whatsoever, but Sugar's there if I ever need to have a message on anything. The ExpressLRS dev team, when they're not when they're not massaging beard oil and lighting incense sticks, they're generally very good as well. And ArduPilot dev team, I've known on and off many of them for years. I haven't dealt with them in the last few years at all. Tridge is an absolute amazing guy, and the others are, and I've never had anything but help from them at all. But look, that's the way it is, you know. You know, it comes, it goes. It's projects evolve, develop over time. So yeah, it's as simple as that. So that's DJI. What this does leave, though, and I'm going to go into Caddx before I move on, is the void that is Caddx. And there is a huge void at the moment. We don't have any news. I know nothing. Obviously, look, I think it's fairly clear the testers are working on some stuff. I don't know if we're going to see anything from a V2 perspective. I'd be very careful separating off V2 from whatever might come next, which might be Wi-Fi based or something else based. I'm beginning to get a sneaky feeling that anything V2 from Caddx might not even be artisan based. I'm getting a sneaky feel that they might even go to something completely different, which will break all compatibility. But that's the reality. DJI have done that many times as well. We won't criticize Caddx for that. I don't think they ever made any promises that the V2 would be compatible with the V1. The only promise they ever made is that there would be an upgrade board for the Goggles X. So if Caddx do release a version 2 system that is no way compatible, but you get the upgrade board, then they have fulfilled their promise. And all we can do is say, well done and congratulations on that. And that's good news. You know, that's all we can expect. I do think Caddx have backed themselves into a bit of a silly corner with the V2 comments. If you remember, they were talking about things like 4 times the range. Well, people are going to interpret that wrong. People are going to interpret that as 4 times what I'm getting now. You have to take into account that the official range spec on Avatar HD, I think it's 4 kilometers off the top of my head. Should we actually check? I am 99% that the official range on the Walk Snail system is 4Ks. So that's going to imply 20 kilometers. Well, 16 kilometers. I'm sure the official spec is 4 kilometers. I just can't remember where they list this. Might be under the goggles. Yeah. So don't necessarily expect that to mean, oh my God, it's suddenly going to work 10 times better than anything else. Have they got it under the goggles? They used to, I know they definitely published this spec somewhere. The Goggles X have matured now. No, I don't know if people have noticed. All of the, either no one's buying them or all of the issues have finally faded away. And I'm going to lean on the latter. Do they have... Yeah, there you go. 4 kilometers, like transmission distance. So they're going to be talking 16 kilometers on whatever comes on a V2. Pretty straightforward. But yeah, I'm not seeing reports of any of the issues. So either no one's buying them or all of the problems have gone away. Not sure where I would lean on that at the moment. But I would expect people to be buying them. So I'm not seeing great deal of reports, actually. Something I will say is the Caddx groups and the overall chatter around Avatar has fallen off dramatically as a result of 04. I think you've seen a lot of people are either switching back or... switching back or switching... over to it, back to it. But yeah, it's good that that's the case, unless no one's buying them, and that's really bad. Are they in stock? Dual antenna version. Goggles X. Yeah, they're in stock, so we can order. So it's not like they're out of stock. So really, we wait and see. You know, we don't know what that little quad was that we saw. It looks... look, I wouldn't be shocked if Caddx release a budget Wi-Fi product. That's what I wouldn't be shocked. But, yeah, let's wait and see. But it's you know, hopefully Caddx is staying silent. But I wouldn't expect full support. Okay, catching up on the chat, because I've seen a couple of interesting things. Where's that one I just saw? Because I need to address that. Jeff Vetner, off subject, but I would like to see you test the RadioMaster Pocket with the RadioMaster Boxer firmware. Does it actually give you the ability to have more than 250 hertz? I'm guessing you're talking 250 milliwatts and not hertz. I did this live on stream about a month ago, and it's all complete and utter bullshit. Firmware will not increase the RF output on the radio. All it is doing is giving you the option to select numbers that are not there. You cannot flash a firmware on the Pocket to give you 1 watt of RF output. Just because you can flash your PC with Mac OS won't make it a Mac in the early days. It doesn't mean it's the same hardware, exactly the same. Just because, you know, there are many things like this. It's just bullshit. And I can't actually believe the person who has published that video has. Because it's nonsense and it shouldn't even be out there. It's utter bullshit is what it is. I'm running 2.2 watt on my VTX depending on the software. Just catching down. No one's buying them, someone said. Fly analog. If DJI 04 is that good, who's going to buy Avatar? Avatar still has HDMI in, HDMI out, and a wide range of cameras. You have to take into account Jeff, if you want to see it, it's a live stream a couple of weeks ago I did. Caddx definitely still has a place. There is absolutely room for Caddx in the system. They have the Pro camera with the low light. You know, DJI still gives you more cinematic cameras. Avatar gives you more CCTV low light cameras. HDMI in, HDMI out. That is very useful for some people. But, and DJI once again proves the fact image quality wins 99% of people over in FPV. I've said it before. I said it with HD0. Latency matters to a subset of users, and it is without doubt important to a subset of users. However, in the end, a cake on a plate wins. And that's what 03 was, and that is now what 04 was. When you're looking to buy a sweet, when you're looking to have a cake in a restaurant, you shop with your eyes. And that's what DJI have once again proven. 04 just looks so good. So good. Avatar's big problem is the codec is complete and utter junk, and it remains to be junk. And until they fix that, my preference is still DJI. That if you fly 03 or 04 on a field and then go back to flying Avatar on a field, oh my God. It's ridiculous. Someone just said a lot of people are hating on Avatar, but it's great. It's not as good as image quality, absolutely, but it's very good. Most people just don't like DJI. I even think that's falling away. People saying they don't like DJI. There's a lot of people saying they don't like DJI, yet their reasons are also complete and utter BS. DJI is a Chinese company, so is Caddx. People say DJI keep changing their products and don't give you compatibility. Well, that's bullshit, because they've given more compatibility in the last 3 years than they have ever done. If you look at the V2 goggles and the range of products that they support, you now look at the goggles 2 and the range of products they support. They make the most reliable products generally from a digital FPV perspective, 04 notwithstanding. People like to hate on DJI because it gave them an excuse not to buy it until they saw the image quality and then most people go, shit, I want that. I just don't like have to register hardware. See, I see that as bullshit because you can just create a Gmail account in 30 seconds and activate. I still do not get anyone who whinges about activating a product when you can give the name Joe Blogs with a fake email and it's done. I don't understand it. I just don't understand the activation thing. I don't get it. I'm not criticizing it. I just don't get it. Because you don't have to give them. People keep saying you have to give them your personal details. You never have to give them your personal details. You don't have to give them anything. DJI's activation is a very simple thing. It's there so they can monitor the warranty. That's what it's for. It's there so they know when the product was activated and used for the first time, and then they can count down the warranty from that point forward. It's also used as a way of getting people to register and send marketing materials. But it's not particularly, it's nothing. People see these things as some great conspiracy. It's really not. It's really simple. They want to know when the product was activated so they can start the warranty from that bit. It's really simple. It's really simple. There's nothing nefarious about it. It's been happening for like 7, 8, 9 years. Every iPhone has to be activated. It's not exactly, how much stuff these days doesn't have to be activated. I just don't see it. DJI activation takes a tiny pinprick of blood from your finger and creates a full genetic background check. Cheers, Sean. Yeah, it's a non-issue. Is it frustrating if you're in a field in the middle of nowhere and you haven't activated? Yeah, I get it. But you also sort of got to understand with DJI's activation, it also gives you a benefit because you plug it in to activate and then you can update the firmware. With Avatar, you still have to update the firmware. So you may as well just activate and update. The activation allows police to associate a DJI drone with an email address. Not the police, DJI. DJI only hand over your details if there's an issue. But again, if you create I hate DJI at gmail.com, it doesn't matter. You never have to give your legitimate details. They never ask for your name and address. All they ask for is a name and an email address. You can literally use anything. And it makes service requests easy. Yeah, it really does with service requests. Genuinely, it's a non-issue. It's something people complain about because they can. Truthfully. The activation is the least of the problems. So, but yeah, so Caddx. Come on, Caddx, we're waiting. We're waiting, Caddx. Everyone else has got gear out. Apparently, HD0 have gear out. Apparently, there's something coming from HD0. DJI have gear out. Come on, Caddx. There's... What you doing? We're waiting. Caddx absolutely has a place, and they have the gimbals and all of that stuff as well, which is really good. Caddx need to just tidy their crap up. Now, we need the codec improved, but the gimbal stuff is really nice. You can't knock. I'll tell you something, especially on like ground-based vehicles, the Caddx stuff is quite nice with the head tracking. The head tracking and all of that stuff is really good. Really good. Any gimbals for 04? Yeah, you can use the 03 ones with a camera casing mod. Yes, they do. I've got the Xanaphis here. I've got them all. I've reviewed them already. And you can use the 04 on it with a camera mod as well. We need Caddx to make a good 04 light lens. Well, funnily enough, for people talking about lenses, let me just find that a moment. And show you this a moment. For those who might have seen my video the other day. Oh, God. Ugh. Let's get that focused. This is that camera. Oh, I got a fingerprint right on the sensor. Oh, well, I'll figure that out later. Anyway, for those who remember, I did the repair on the board, which worked fine. However, we caused a problem on the lens. Now, I actually ended up getting it off and having a look. And it turns out it was a bit more melted than I expected. Let me just find the image that I put on my Discord, because it's quite a good image to show the issue in a bit more detail. There we go. And if I open that one, there you can see the melty on the lens in a little bit more detail. Clearly very susceptible to heat, to say the least. But it actually melted the side of the lens. I'm going to get down my overhead microscope camera. For those who've seen, I have an overhead microscope camera that I can bring down like that. And now, if I hit this button here, you guys can see it. I just need to focus it. There you go. It'll stop wobbling in a second because I've just moved it down, so please bear with it. But yes, you can see there where it actually melted. That is the side that got hot. This side around here. And as a result of that, it's actually, from the look of it, melted the lens. What's actually quite frustrating is this is a cheap plastic lens. That's obviously going to impact the image quality on the nano camera quite a lot as well. We know DJI have been using plastic lenses for years. I'm assuming that there is where I've melted it, or is that how it comes from the factory? I just don't know. But you can see that lens. Look at all the cracks on the inside, look, with the heat. It has just destroyed it. Just destroyed it. So, definitely be careful with these lenses. There we've got my sensor. Oh, look at the fingerprint. That'll clean. That'll be fine. I just need to clean this up. But there you can see the sensor in the light camera. If I get a... we need to get some IPA on it. Yeah, we're spreading some stuff around it now, but some IPA will clean that up. It will be fine. A little bit of IPA. For those of you who've never cleaned a camera sensor before, I've done it many a times. I never forget, I changed a lens on a camera once, and as I was changing the lens, I sneezed into it, and I ended up sneezing over the sensor on a $3,000 camera. I nearly had a stroke. But once you've cleaned a lens a few times, you soon get used to it. Even IPA isn't necessarily the best, because you can see it's still smearing the stuff around. What it will need is a proper lens cleaning kit. And then we'll be able to do that, and it'll be fine. But I'm going to order, 3D print a lens for this week. You can see the IPA even leaves a bit of residue. So, yes, unfortunately, pop that up there out the way. Unfortunately, I melted it. So, yeah, soft cloth. It'll soon clean. What you tend to find is they put like all this stuff around the sensors, a little bit like of adhesive, and you end up spreading it around. So it does take a little bit of cleaning, but that's 99.9% IPA, that stuff there. I'm just giving it a clean there. Yeah, that's better already. See, I've just done it under a cloth, and that's clean now, basically. So, but these Q-tips, you've got to be careful with Q-tips. Some of these have chemicals on them. It's 99.9%. That's my top camera's gone jerky tonight. There you go. 99.9. So, yes, so did mine. I never even thought, with the when I was doing it, I never thought. I just never thought. The problem is when you do these things for a video, people will often say to me, "You break a lot of stuff on the channel," and that is because I'm recording. If you weren't doing it when recording, you'd have the time to stop and think about things a little bit and what might happen. The worst thing you tend to do is when you're recording stuff, you're not thinking of the bigger picture because you're thinking about what you're saying and what you're talking about as you're doing it, and you're not thinking about everything. And it is always a risk. Anyone who makes content will tell you, you are somewhat distracted. If I wasn't doing it making content, I'd have had a thought and gone, ooh, that lens, ooh, I might need to put that. I definitely went in with too much heat for not too much heat, but too long. But what made me laugh is I had so many people saying too much heat. If it was too much heat, I'd have melted the connector. Someone else said, which made me laugh, you did it wrong. You should have heated it up with the air gun and pressed it down. That way you wouldn't have needed to hold it on so long. If you'd have touched that connector, right, with anything, it would have melted in half. You cannot touch those connectors. Anyone who's done board repair on these, you float them in and leave them. You do not press those connectors down. They will turn to cheese if you do. But you always get the armchair experts. You always do. Right. The next thing we're going to talk about, and this is probably the last thing tonight. I'm going to only go for an hour tonight because I've got some stuff I've got to do. OpenIPC. So, we have a number of new products on OpenIPC hitting the market. Runcam obviously have announced their new WifiLink 2 air unit, which is a much better design than what we've seen before. Looking good. They say it's available for pre-order now. Expected release date tomorrow. Okay, so I need to order one. I don't have one. So I need to order one of them. But they also have a new VRX module coming. And Mario has released videos on both. He's obviously testing for them, whatever we want to call it. This new VTX, which we'll talk about first of all, is looking like to be a much better design. I still don't like the fact it's got a fan on the top. I would rather they'd made a bigger heatsink than shoved a fan on it, but that is what it is. But the overall design looks much better, supports 125 frames a second, AIO, and this time it is a full in-house design on the RF front end. So if we go down on their spec, it just gives us basic information. They don't show you, they do show you their WifiLink RX there. So look, there's nothing been, they're showing you this stuff here. And you can see the new board here. So you've got LEDs, you've got pads, which is nice to see. Weight-wise, 30 grams. But Mario has put out 2 videos. He's put out the first video on sorry, not that one. That one. The VTX module. Now it goes straight to an advert. Thank you very much. So Mario gives you an overview of it. I suggest going to watch his channel. I'll be getting one in to talk about it. So if you want to wait for that, I'll give you my thoughts. But he gives you an overview of it. Yes, it's not the 3135 camera. They've gone for the IMX 415. There seems to be some debate over this. But you can see there the unit in comparison to the original one. Much better design. Much better design overall. Mario does go through the setup on it, but what he does do is tear it down as well, which is good to see. And now what you'll see for the first time on it is that whilst the Wi-Fi board is a module, it does look to be in-house designed rather than the off-the-shelf module. You can see it's called RC Wi-Fi 5 G times 2 times, and it's definitely their board. So whilst it's a piggyback board, it is looking like of their own design rather than using an off-the-shelf board that has Wi-Fi with those cheap Chinese ones. And then he spins it round and shows the chipset, which is the RTL 88. I can't read that properly on his video. Are we in 4K? Yeah, we're in 4K and we can't read it. And then he shows us the other side of the board then as well. You see the Star 338 chipset. He's showing you the MIPI there. And there you go. You have a proper look now at the other side of the board. You've got the Star 338Q. I see 8812 EU. There you go. I couldn't quite read it. So, look, it's what we expect. I still don't like this network connectivity for installing the firmware. You may have noticed earlier in it, Mario was having to connect it up to his laptop via Cat5 port. These boards need USB now, and I ain't talking a USB bloody network adapter. They need proper USB. They should have gone for the 335 sensor as standard to get 1080p 120. And also, preferably, an RTL 8812 AU. So that 40 meg bandwidth mode works. Yeah, there are some limitations on this. There are definitely some limitations on it. EU rather than the AU. But yeah, overall, the VTX, it looks a better design. Perhaps they can change the RF network adapter and they can change it for the other model. Alongside this, though, today, I think Mario has published Runcam's complete rip-off of the HD0 VRX module. And seriously, Runcam, I literally think they went and got the HD0 VRX module and copied the shell. And I mean literally copied the shell. While some of the holes are in different places. Where's mine? Where's the V4? It is an absolute bloody clone of the V4 case. There it is. There it is. Let me show you this. So, if I look at this from underneath, right? So you can see that angle there. So, here's Ignore the different ports, okay? But you've got a back section, step down to a front section with the clip-in areas for the antennas, okay? Back section with a front section with the clip-in areas for the antennas. They have literally, on that side of it, ripped it off. Honestly, okay? It's got its power port on the side. And then it's got the design on the top, which is, look, very similar. Very, very similar. If I show you there. A couple of buttons in different places, but it is really similar. Really similar. And so much so, and I'll show you why in a minute, when Mario tears it down, look, and this is what made me laugh. So much so that the back housing is countersunk into the back shell, just like the HD0 one. Right? Overhead. This one. They literally did rip it off from the plastic mouldings a little bit, but we'll forgive that. But look, so we've got a VRX module that has HDMI output, USB-C, OTG. Now, I haven't seen the official spec. That is not a coincidence. I am sorry, but even having the step downs in the moulding is not a coincidence. That is, they had that in hand and they said, let's make it just like this, is what they did. Sorry, it's might have been being sarcastic. So, but look, you've got Type-C. I haven't seen the spec, but it does appear to be based on a Redaxer, which means it's using the ROC chip. I was half expecting them to have cheaped out and used a different chipset. However, in Mario's video, he flashes it with the Redaxer image for both OpenIPC ground station and for it'll come to me in a minute. Ruby FPV. I couldn't, my brain just wouldn't get there. And he flashes it with Ruby as well. So it looks like it's actually based on the Redaxer and it's going to have the same ROC chip. Or at least a similar one enough. It uses the RK3355. So it isn't the same chip, but it's the same family of chip. There we go. And that's why the Redaxer image works. That's quite interesting. So it's the three... What's the thoughts on the 3355 versus... The Redaxer 0 uses the 3566. So what's the difference between... versus RK3355. So the 353355 33 verse is generally considered more powerful. Okay, let's see what the AI says. So, quad-core A55, whereas quad-core A53... Oh, no, sorry, it's using the 3566, is it? Sorry, which is the same as the Redaxer 0, then. If that's the case. 03W. Which means it'll be the same SoC. Okay, that's good news. If that's the case, that's good news. Because that means it's running the same chipset. But I haven't seen confirmation on this yet. But, look, Mario has a video on it. I'm not going to go over the whole thing. they have ripped off the HD0 VRX module. But look, the truth is, it's great to see a VRX module. The fact it's running the same firmware is good. It's got a ton of I/O. Hardware-wise, OpenIPC vendors who are making hardware are now very close. They are now very, very close on the hardware side of things. Hardware is no longer a problem. We now just need the software to tidy up usability out the box. And I don't know how Runcam is shipping these. Can I put it on a telly? Absolutely. HDMI output. You'll be able to plug it straight in a telly. So yeah, really good to see. This isn't shown on the Runcam website yet. I've not seen any hint of pricing on this. We're going to have to wait and see. We're going to have to wait and see how much it costs. It looks quite big, actually. When you put it in the hand like that, it does actually look quite large. There he's mounting it on a set of HDOs. So yeah, good to see. And I'll order the VRX in. Emacs are sending me their newest stuff to take a look at. I haven't heard anything from Runcam, so I'm just going to order it and pay for it. It's as simple as that. So yeah, it's pretty good. All good. New stuff coming. OpenIPC is definitely moving forward. I think, you know, get a few more months from a plane perspective, especially. Ignore quads a minute. From a fixed wing perspective, I can see people getting very interested. Definitely getting very interested. I think quads is hard. Quads is difficult. TBS vision would be nice. Yeah, I think, you know, quads is hard and difficult, but I think planes is going to be the non-latency-ish ones and stuff with, you know, fail-safe options in place and things like that. I'm getting... And look, if you look, Ruby's... Like, I've been playing Ruby a little bit in the background. I don't like the OSD. I wish Ruby would bin all of that OSD. When you install the image, it comes just too much. I don't like how either of the ground station images look. They all need sorting out. It needs to look like FPV. So, for instance, Mario here is showing the Redaxer image. So here, the Redaxer image is on screen. All of this needs to go. I'm sorry, I don't want... None of this should be here when you boot up in normal use. All of this is nonsense that you can't turn off easily. You can turn one of them off and you can't turn the other one off. When in the earlier ones you couldn't. I don't know if they've now changed it. But it shouldn't be there. This now needs to start coming like all of the other FPV systems. Normal MSP display, port enabled, out the door. With Ruby, when I installed Ruby, there's just too much shit when you first fire it up. I like the functionality, and I know you can change it, but it's too much before I start. I want none of it. I don't want to have to build a system and turn it all off. Ruby has all of this OSD stuff when you boot it up. Like, you know, this is how Ruby gets up when you've booted it. It's get rid of it all. Fucking gone. I don't want any of it. I want it to come up like every other FPV system. Show me the menu, show me the options, bin everything else. I don't want any of this shit. Get it gone. Make it look like the full image, like it is on every other system. Rule number 1, replicate what is here. DJI, Avatar HD, HD0. What they all show, maybe battery voltage. DJI has their own internal signal levels. Fucking get rid of all of the nonsense. We don't need all of this crap, and I don't want to have to learn how to turn it off before I can use the system. And that is a criticism, but it is honest feedback. Because what happens is, you install it, and you then spend the next 10 minutes trying to figure out how to get into the OSD to make it get rid of all of this crap that I don't want to see. You shouldn't have to waste time to turn off stuff you don't want. You should turn on nothing and allow the people to turn it all on if they want it. Start with nothing, move forward that way. Because I spent 10 minutes fucking around with it on longer, trying to figure out why some of it would come on and some of it wouldn't, because I don't know what that element is called. And this is a classic issue for the developer, and I know he's here. You know what that's called, right? You built the system. So you're looking at this going, all of this is on, so you're going, oh yeah. So you can turn them all off. I don't know what they are. I don't know where they are. I don't know where the options are. You have OSD options here, and then you got the other ones here, you got the presets. I then have to spend time learning what they all are just to turn them off. It's very nice. It's very pretty. I don't want it in front of me. I need it gone so I can get the quad in the air. And I don't want to have to learn what each option is. Less is more. Less is absolutely more. Start with nothing. Replicate what everyone else has. Or at least start it up and say, hey, do you want no OSD? Yeah, but yes, and you have a different one. But here's the truth. I won't use it until I don't have that there, because I can't be fucked to wait around to figure out how to turn it all off. That's the truth. I'm a simple person. I can't be asked to learn all of the ins and outs to turn it all off. It's not each time you fly. You can set it up and configure it, and then it should all stay off. It isn't hard, but none of these are named exactly the same as what they are. I haven't got the image in mind to show you. And this is my point. It needs to replicate out the box what we have and not necessarily have to rewrite everything from scratch. It looks very nice. I'm not going to pretend it doesn't. But I don't need all of this. It's taking up screen real estate when I'm sitting here going, wait a minute, where do I go? Setup should be really simple. If you need to install the firmware, you install the firmware. We have pretty much a standardized setup in FPV, which is MSP DisplayPort now. So I want to enable that so I can get it, get the font pack on, and get the bird in the air. On a digital system, what you want to be able to see is if it's a VRX or something like that, input voltage is useful. You want signal level, minimum, very small elements for signal up, signal down, maybe small bars, something like that. Numbers, don't care. Give me something I can understand. To be honest, simplest is to try and replicate what HD0 did and go from here. Here is, let me show you the perfect OSD on a digital system, because this is all I need. I don't want anything else. I don't want or need anything else to be able to use it, because any time I spend learning it... Oh, nope, that's the wrong file. 1 second. Where's that gone? There it is. On there. Sorry, I'm waiting for my computer to actually wake up. MSP is for quads. Ardra users will want WifiLink. They won't now, because Ardra users will more than happily take MSP, especially if they're using maybe the Inav font set. WifiLink is fine. It can be used as the WifiLink elements. WifiLink is just a communication protocol. It's not the OSD overlay. This is the OSD from HD0. We have the fan speed. This tells us we're in the ultra low latency mode. We have the battery voltage and battery type. It gives me an indication we're recording. And then we got the signal. That's it. From a system perspective, that's it. I don't want anything else. That's all I need. That's all I want out the box. And on HD0, I can turn that off with a button on the side. I don't even like this. This is nonsense for me as well. See, this needs to go. This shouldn't be here when I boot it up. That or that shouldn't be there when I first install it. That get rid, please. Gone. Keep it simple. Then allow people to put more in. In is better. Out is worse. Look, I really liked how Ruby overall sort of the options in it were insane. It's freaking 2 minutes. It's the Ardra pilot of digital FPV is the term I'll use because there's freaking prams everywhere. But it's too much. It's start with nothing, work forward, because every time I look at it and start to learn what does it all mean. You know, where are they? Turn them all off. And then it's just unnecessary bloatware. It's like an Android phone that has all that fucking shit on it. You don't want it. No one wants it. No one wants all of those apps from day one. You want to start with as little as you can and work forward. I'm not saying take it out. Leave it all in there. Just turn it all off. And then move forward. Nobody forces you to fly with it. No, they don't. But that doesn't mean I'm going to fucking talk about it either. And then people whinge that why aren't you talking about something? You know, it's really, you know, we're not trying to reinvent the wheel here. The wheel is the FPV system, not the freaking OSD, if that makes sense. No one is complaining that I don't have a graphical interface that shows me the frequency band. Do I like it? Yes. Do I want it? No. I don't want to boot a system and a quarter of the screen is taken up by OSD stuff I don't need. And that's the bit people need to get their head. Have you dyed my eyebrows? No, I haven't. My hair's gone grey, my eyebrows haven't. Depends the light. Do we know what the expected latency of OpenIPC is compared to other HD systems? Look, in the tests I did on initially, I can't remember how low the number is off the top of my head. It was comparable to DJI in the higher latency modes. I've got the numbers somewhere. I have talked about them before. Latency is, look, you're not going to get, I've seen nothing to suggest it can get near HD0. But it's certainly comparable on the DJI O3 on, say, 60 frames a second. Maybe a little bit more, but it's fine. It's fine. It's good enough. Not a problem. You know, we're not talking HD0 14 milliseconds, right? That's just out the door. That's just out the window. But it's definitely flyable. Morton. Okay. Someone just asked, what's my thoughts on the Hum 2004? Not seen it, sorry. I'm pretty much not reviewing Bind and Flies at the moment because I haven't got time. So that's pretty much it. Right, guys, we're going to call it quits here. Thank you for spending some time with me tonight. Please do consider checking out the links to my Patreon as well as buy me a coffee. Some interesting videos coming out this week. Do watch on the channel. Look after yourselves, stay safe, and I will speak to you soon.